Hello, trading has closed on 14th of August 2024. As always, we start with our disclaimer, go over our calls, and then make predictions. This is my trading plan for tomorrow, August 15th, 2024. Please remember, my calls can be completely wrong. Trade at your own risk. Also, until the middle of next week, I may not be risking my own money on any of these calls because I have personal business. Look for the pattern with the early high. That's this. Tomorrow should also have the early high. Now here's what we said. We said resistance in the 54.58, 54.59 cash area, and continuing the rally was likely. Well, here's the chart we drew. We stopped right at that price. It beat it by a few points, but in the scheme of things, I don't think that makes a difference. So we had this rally right to the target we identified. That's resistance. Now, resistance doesn't have to hold, but usually when you rally to resistance, you either gap over it or resistance wins. So we got our price. Now it's a question of whether that's a reversal level or not. Now we do have lower MEJT targets. We have 54.39.85 and 54.31.54. And once again, if we don't gap up smartly, these are favored to print. MEJT said this move up was false, this drop was false. This should be up here. Said this rally was false, this drop was false. Now it says this rally's false, hasn't retraced enough. Says the afternoon's move is false. It says we're going lower, but as always, if we gap up, that idea is killed. We're stopping right at resistance from this to mark TDST line. These are moving averages from the weekly chart. We're stopping right at that resistance too. So we have a strong rally to resistance. You either gap over resistance or resistance wins. Here's the 50-day moving average again, a rally right to resistance. And here's a trend line right to it. So you have this strong rally right to resistance. You gap over resistance or resistance wins. I'm not so certain resistance isn't going to be broken here. It would have made a much clearer picture for me if we hadn't missed this number by a few points. I know that might be a bit picky, but usually I'm closer than 5 points, which is 0.1%, I admit. But still, I'm usually closer than that. Also, we've challenged this level a few times. The more often you challenge it, the more likely it is to break. And this pattern usually closes near its high or drops in a straight line. Well, it certainly didn't drop in a straight line, and it certainly didn't close near its high. Time runs out early tomorrow, so the odds are favoring but not requiring a gap tomorrow, either down smartly or up smartly. And if we're up smartly and don't reverse promptly, that's a breakthrough resistance. Doesn't have to happen. If we drop right from here, it's a perfect setup. It's the number I called within 0.1%. I have the lower targets. Here's our wave count. That would be A. This could be B. Could have a C down, which would be pretty steep. That would be A, and this doesn't have to be B. It could be A of B or B. Let's put that in there. Well, Doesn't matter if it's A or B or B or B. Point is, it could stop right here, but I'm not so certain it will. I'm just going to wait to see how we open tomorrow. That's just not as precise as I like to be, and it's usually you're going to hit the level and drop. That just did not happen. Well, Thursday's pattern has the early high regardless of where we open. There are lower MEJT targets, so unless we gap up smartly, the rules call for them to print. We rally to a resistance area marked by a Fibonacci retrace, by the wave count, and by a trend line. And if, in capitals, if we start down from the open, one could argue the rebound was over. Now, if we gap up smartly, that kills the idea. I just can't rule that out. We're not seeing the kinds of divergences I like to see at a top of significance. It also would have made a clearer picture had we stopped closer to the target mentioned in yesterday's video, and if we hadn't challenged it so many times. Remember, the more times the target's challenged, the more likely we're going to break through it. We got neither the rally to a high of day nor a straight line drop, which today's pattern usually offers. We're likely to gap at tomorrow's open, and despite the lower MEJT targets, which should print at some time, I can't rule out gapping higher and postponing the inevitable retrace of this leg higher. Now again, we gap down smartly in a straight line. The elements are there for this leg to be over. They're all there. But I don't think that's a lock, and if it doesn't happen and we gap up instead and hold it, we could still go higher before these numbers eventually print. So we'll have to see where we open tomorrow. It's the pattern with the early high, and that's today's call.